And we are live.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, I know y'all might be wondering, it's a little early for y'all to be on. We have some interesting and important things to discuss. So, yes, we had to come early.
Yes.
We had to bring you guys early. But before we get into particulars, let's get this disclaimer up out of the way, okay? And the disclaimer is just this. The views, opinions, and commentary that you will hear tonight on the B.L.E.S.C podcast is just that. It's just the views, commentary, and opinions of the panelists that you see in here. And it does not reflect at all Kearney Point or any of its employees, okay?
Absolutely.
So now that we got that out of the way, it's time for some introductions, okay? So we have over here to my immediate left, we have Mr. Rashid Chambers.
Y'all know who I am. Thank you, thank you. You're all too kind.
Yes, we have Mr.
You're all too
Rashid
kind.
Chambers. Look at him.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
And then we have Brother Educational Woo Gilmore. Oh, I forgot the
There you
Frank.
go.
Frank. He got so many names.
Woo, Frank.
Woo Frank, Educational, the
Shanghai.
man.
Yeah, that guy.
The councilman,
Yeah.
Board F councilman. Okay, so
You got it all.
that's the gentleman over here to my left. And then to my right, we have Principal
He got a
Chris
bunch of them,
Gadsden.
too.
He has a bunch of titles
Former
too. Former
council
councilman.
person. Principal Chris Gadsden.
Yes.
Fraternity this, fraternity
Fraternity
that.
brother, bow tie wearer, Mr. Bow tie wearer. And you may notice that the panel is a little light. And by light, yes, I do mean color. Okay? Chocolate Daddy is not here tonight.
Not tonight, but he'll be back
Kylie is
soon.
not feeling well,
Yeah.
so let's send our prayers out to Kylie. We're gonna miss his energy tonight.
Yep.
Light skin Keisha gonna hold it down for you, okay, Chocolate Daddy? Okay? All right, so we miss him, but he'll be back as soon as he's better.
Yep.
Now, I want to get down to what we're going to be talking about tonight. So for our Hitting the Block segment, we're going to be discussing events in Jersey City, things that's going on so you guys can be in the know, okay? And then we're going to have some very interesting topics to discuss. We have the good brother, educational, good Gilmore, and Frank Gadsden here Frank Gadsden, Lord have mercy, Chris Gadsden, to discuss.
She on a roll. Kylie, we need you back.
Yes, right?
We need you back, bro. He's the official guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are going to be discussing the redistricting, okay?
Yes.
And what happened with the lawsuit that was filed and how we're going to be moving forward. And we also going to be discussing one of our council persons who had an accident.
Well, we're going
to discuss it. We're going to discuss it.
No
and
spoils. Stay here.
We're gonna. Well,
Just
I
stay here.
want everybody to know what we're going to be discussing
Yeah.
tonight. So these are some of the things that we're going to be discussing tonight. You guys, please put your comments and your questions right in the comment section, and let's get into it. But before we do, I do want to say this: please email us. I'm checking the email and I ain't getting nothing. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, and or you know you might want to have a question of one of the panelists, shoot us an email. It's Conversations with B.L.E.S.C, B-L-E-S-C. You see it back there behind me. Conversations with B.L.E.S.C @gmail.com. Now, let's get into Hitting the Block. Mr. Chambers, what do you have for us today?
What's going on, y'all? What's going on, good people? So, yeah, we had a lot of things that were going on and kicking off in Jersey City since the last time we all came together. So we had the mural. We saw everything. The mural kicked off. There was a nice celebration, I believe, last Saturday at Berry Lane Park. You know, Chris, you were there as well. You know, it was a very, very, very good, inspirational. It's good to see, you know, reflections of color. And I'm going to say it literally because it was purple and everything else. But good to see reflections of color and the community coming out when we get some of those things. So that's awesome. Shout out to everyone who actually went to that. Another past event we had was the College and Community Career Fair, which was hosted at Berry Lanes. That was hosted by Angela Cares, I Love Greenville, and also the Greater Neighborhood Alliance. So there were schools out there like Fairleigh Dickinson, King University. There was a bunch of colleges out there. The firefighters were out there giving our people, you know, an opportunity to pretty much take advantage of the educational resources and also the career and development resources that we already have in our community. It is vital that we start to support these things because the first thing that is going to be said said when we don't support these things or we don't have access to them is what happened, where are all the programs. So make sure at any time, and we're going to make sure that we do our due diligence to let you know what's coming up. Make sure that you take full advantage of what's going down so that we can actually, pay a little bit more attention as to, the things and the great efforts that people are actually doing. What's coming up? We have the gala that's going to be going on. We have a masquerade gala. This is hosted by GNA as well. This is going to pretty much be honoring some of the great work from some of the great people in our community.
I heard you were one of the honorees.
I wasn't going to get into none of that, but yes, some of the people are doing great work, and thank you very much. But also, the B.L.E.S.C president, Smitty, is being honored as well for a community award. And we all know how much work that B.L.E.S.C puts in day in and day out when it comes to working with the community, being advocates for the community, being advocates for the youth. So shout out to President Smitty. That's what I like to call him, but Anthony Smith. Shout out to him. And I think there's one other school board. That's coming up. Absolutely.
Well, the elections.
Yeah, the elections are coming up.
And we have some important, now people, it's not a presidential election, but that doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't be going out and moving. This is the election that you should be going out and moving because this is congressional seats, okay? And this can change everything in Congress right now. So if you're noticing a lot of your commercials are showing you a lot of Republican ads, a lot of Democrat ads, because the race is so tight between the two parties that people are pushing these ads. November 8th, next Tuesday are elections. There's congressional seats and then the school board elections. Okay, and it's important. It's important to vote on a local level because your voice will be heard what's going on in your city if you vote on the local level. So please get out and vote. If you're not registered to vote, listen, it's easy. You better Google it.
It's a link now. It's as simple as pretty much getting out there. So definitely, it's our responsibility as citizens to allow our voices to be heard and to make sure it. I am so sick and tired of people complaining about political corruption and then also saying that votes don't count. So, you got to choose a battle. Either it doesn't matter and people are going out of their way to steal things, or it does matter and you're just not participating. So make sure that you do something.
And then early voting is taking place now.
Yes. Early voting is going on right
Sunday.
now?
Yep.
Up until Sunday. Now, is that split up between?
Well, in Jersey City, it's the same 4 sites. Gallo, the Moose Lounge,
Nice.
City Hall, and I think one more other location.
All right, we'll get the fourth,
I
definitely.
think
and we'll share
Persian
it.
Field. So
The Heights, yeah.
Persian
Heights.
Field.
Yeah, so there's 4 early voting sites in Jersey City.
Across Jersey City. So there's so many different places to go. Early voting is taking place right now. People still have the opportunity to register, correct?
Yes.
No.
People can't
registration
register?
is closed?
Registration
Not for
is
this
closed?
election. You can still register, but
Yeah.
you're not
Not
gonna
for
be-
this ele-
not for this
okay,
election.
okay.
That is definitely unfortunate. Maybe that'll be a conversation in of itself.
Yeah.
At another time.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the other events that took place on this past weekend, Halloween weekend. Halloween, just like Christmas, is definitely a holiday where the kids love to celebrate. They
Yes,
love to
yes.
dress up. And Mr. Gilmore was at the head of an event. It was you and the
Kiss
Oh,
of the
yeah,
King.
it was.
Kesman of Kings at the factory. An amazing event. Could you speak to that?
Yes, it was a bunch of different organizations, Kismet of King, Anti-Violence Coalition, Educational Gilmore Speaks. It was so many different organizations that came together to donate a bunch of different resources to make sure kids were happy and kids were fed, and it was just like really great. It was, I don't like to brag, but it was the best Halloween party in
the city.
all of the city.
There was a few Halloween things going on. I know there was something at the Bethune Center as well where B.L.E.S.C came through and they donated some stuff. So there was a lot of events that happened in terms of Halloween this past weekend. And we want to continue doing that. I like the fact that there was collaboration. That's the most important thing. When you're talking about all of these organizations and you're talking
when
about them coming together, collaborating, that's what we're here to do. So like I said, reach out to B.L.E.S.C, reach out to Educational Gilmore and all of the other organizations so we could come together and do more things in the community. So, we good? Okay,
Now,
great.
Rush.
Yep.
Okay, we
Or
good.
you already know, brothers keepers. I just wanted to say shout out as well to my brothers. Chris and Frank. Royal Men alumni right here. So shout out to my brothers. Definitely, it's always good to catch up with you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's get into it, because
Let's get
we got
into
a
it.
heck of a topic, and some of the things that we're looking at in our city. We're talking about a lot of the stuff with gentrification, and we're talking about some of the displacement. And we're talking about some of the good things, the bad things, some of the ugly things. You guys are on the forefront right now, and it's something that's going on very vital. And before we start to talk about the lawsuit and the things that is going on, can we just talk about Jersey City's redistricting? Like what was that, and when was that actually enacted?
Well, every 10 years, we do the census. After we do the census, based off of if there are any population shifts, then, you have to redistrict,
Okay.
right? So Jersey City had to go through this process. If you remember, the census was delayed. Certification of the number of people who actually counted, that was pushed back until like after the election of 21. And so I guess a couple of days after that, they formed a commission that was actually responsible for drafting a map, because Jersey City, if you remember, Jersey City was in competition with Newark and trying to be the largest city.
Most diverse as well.
It's one of the diverse in the whole country, but as far as population-wise, it wanted to surpass Newark as being the #1 city in New Jersey. It came up a little short, about 20,000 votes, but Jersey City grew, and the population grew primarily in the downtown area, like in Ward E.
Yeah.
And downtown grew by over 20,000 people, right? So, but the Ward Commission was formed, and it had to, I guess, redistrict or redistribute the population from one particular ward, which is downtown, because it went up to about 69,000, and it had to, make everything somewhat
Balance,
even,
like a balance,
right? So that magical number was about like 48,000 to be equally distributed into the 6 wards that we have here in Jersey City. So what the commission did was, I guess it met.
Well, I just really want to be clear, Chris, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're saying they met. When was this happen? When did this happen? Was there anything specific that happened around the same time?
Well,
Like when did the commission come together? Do we know? Was this in
don't
private
know.
chambers, public chambers?
but the general public wasn't aware of them meeting, right? But we knew that
A commission was formed
a commission was formed.
to discuss the
Yeah.
rezoning.
And the commission was formed because it's supposed to be bipartisan. So the governor allows the municipality to choose a couple of Democrats, a couple of Republicans to sit on the commission, and it's headed by whoever the mayor or whoever that designee says, and then they forward those names to the governor. The governor like, all right, fine, cool, go ahead and do the work.
Okay.
In Jersey City, the mayor's right-hand person who is working within his office is the person who's the head of the ward commission. His name is John Manila.
Okay.
And he was the
And there's
one-
no conflict of interest there or anything like that, or?
Look, so John Manila.
He don't
is-
want to answer that question.
So John, it's obvious conflict
It's,
of interest.
yeah.
It is obvious.
It
Obvious
is
conflict of
obvious.
interest. So John Manila is chosen to be the head of a commission with 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. And what they did was, some people who are also a part of the commission would be the person who is in charge of all the elections. He served as secretary, Michael Harper, and also our city clerk, Sean Gallagher. He sat on the commission also. And what they did was they met supposedly. We don't know like when they met. But in talking to Councilman Gilmore, one of the things that we discussed after he was elected, he was like, yo, we really have to find out like how the redistricting efforts are going. And we was kind of like waiting on that for a minute, because we knew that that was going to be very much important.
So I'm a little bit, and Erica, I do apologize, because I know you're building
Oh,
up to
I'm
something.
yes.
But I was
But
going to say that I knew absolutely nothing about what was going on. So I don't know if it's, and I consider myself to be one of those people, or in the community who tries to stay within the know. And a lot of this information wasn't readily available to me.
Not at
But I
all.
think when
To-
it
to
hit my
residents,
radar,
voting
pretty
residents
much
at that.
it was shortly after the more recent election.
Right.
So And in my honest opinion, because I didn't have the information, like a lot of you guys might not have had the information, it almost seemed
Backhanded.
retaliatory. And that was just a little bit
Before we
for
get to
me.
retaliatory,
Yeah.
because
Wait, but before you move forward, so in my research, this Congress was formed shortly after the election.
sure,
Shortly,
days.
yeah,
Like days after
yes,
the election?
Yes, the not Congress,
the
Commission.
the
The
commission,
commission,
right?
yes.
The
Commission.
commission was formed days after the election.
and that was because
It's
And
just
then
a coincidence,
January,
honestly.
January is when they came together to actually finalize the map that we see currently.
Also a
Yeah.
coincidence. This was before your win was ratified, correct? Or-
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So all these things that happened, within a small window as far as being in the public view.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just trying to get.
Frank wins. Then after the election, the governor finally certifies, and then after he certifies, then the commission has to be formed, and the commission has 60 days to sit down to look at all this information, data, a whole lot of other things that they
60
have
days
to
from
consider.
November 4th of that year, correct?
I think they began on the 5th, or like whenever they were supposed to have met and convened, or whenever the governor certified. The commission had that time, I think November 15th or something like that, where
Yeah.
they had 60 days in order to come up. So they were supposed to have drafted, formed, had public meetings, and did all the rest of that thing. But the crazy thing about the commission and what they did, and this is what Councilman Gilmore can speak to, he's sworn in as the council person, and one of the things we discussed, we were like, yo, what's up with this ward map? It just so happened that the city clerk came to the council people that night and presented them with one rendering of the ward
Proposed,
map that the
yeah.
commission
Proposed.
had worked on
It wasn't
over the
finalized at that
last
point.
over the last 2 months, right? And so when he proposed it, they was like, well, in the next 2 days, now this was a Wednesday, which was the 12th or something like that. Then they said on the 14th, we're actually going to vote on that map, and we're going to finalize whether this map, because we got to send it to, this is Martin Luther King birthday weekend. He said we have to send it to the state, whatever, on that Tuesday. So he said this meeting is very much important because we're actually going to vote on this map. Now that's kind of crazy because no one knew anything about the particulars of the map, what was going to happen, how
Yeah.
populations were shifted, and all the rest of that, because they kept the public pretty much out over the previous 60 days. And so what they did was they had a meeting. The meeting didn't go too well, if people remember. They tried to use Zoom with 100 people capacity.
That ain't working.
It didn't work. It crashed. They met with people up there on Connellson at the county office, and people was like, "This is not how you hold a public meeting. Like this is ridiculous." So politicians like our commissioner Bill O'Day, he was like, "No, you have to do this right. You have to have a real meeting. You have to advertise," because they didn't even advertise the meeting properly. That Wednesday and then that Friday, nothing was posted in the newspaper. Nothing took place. So
It was intentional.
This is very much
to
intentional.
not let
It's
people
very
know
much
what's going on.
very much
Yeah.
intentional.
But I have a question, because what it sounds like to me is when the population in a particular area grows. Now this is just common sense, right? You kind of have to shift the wards. Is that correct, Frank?
Yeah.
You're shifting the wards because one population is bigger than the other, and you don't want a particular area when it comes down to voting to have more voting than another area. If that's so, then why would they shrink? Because Ward F didn't grow. You said Ward E grew. So if Ward E was the one that grew, shouldn't Ward E been the one that shrunk the most?
Yeah, so what happens is, with the numbers, they take the total number and then they divide it. Now, Ward E was really the only ward that grew drastically, so
Right.
they had to shed some people. So what they
So
did.
some neighborhoods essentially.
Yeah,
Some
some
neighborhoods
neighborhoods.
in Ward E shifted to Ward A.
Yes.
Right.
No, some shifted, well, most of it shifted to Ward F and then went up, some shifted to Ward D. which was the Heights. I guess there's nothing wrong with redistricting in a sense that it has to be done.
Right, it's the way it was done.
The issue is, first and foremost, the level of transparency. There's no conversation about ward maps if I don't put out a post. No one knew anything.
Right.
Right? In fact, all of the colleagues, everyone on the council were privy to the map before me. I kind of heard
Word of mouth.
about it through a indirect cause. I was like, it just was like, oh, like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, feel about what? I don't even know what's going on. It was like, new map. I said, what new map? When did they draw it? But I was anticipating a new map being drawn because of the election.
You know that, but you
and I
also know
it
the
had to-
population shifted.
Yeah,
as
and I know
well.
it had to transpire. So I was like, I don't have it. So once I was privy to the information, I automatically went to the clerk and said, Sean, can you please send me a copy of the map? And then when I looked at the map, I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. First and foremost, no one knows about it, and they said they're going to vote it on Friday. So I was like, let me put out a post. So of course, I put out a post. The post go viral, and everybody's talking about it. It's like no one knew anything about the map. No one said nothing, and they were just going to go and go vote on it. So I said, listen, people, if you want your voice to be heard, come to the meeting to voice your concern. Now, they held the meeting on Zoom, but they were thinking that no one was going to attend. So that's why they thought it was just going to go through. And once we found out that it was 100 people allowed on a Zoom, it's like 9 commissioners, ward commissioners, so they took up 9 slots. And once I notified so many people, it's people texting me, it's like, did the meeting start? I was like, no, it's starting a little bit. He's like, I can't get in. So I go to the person that's running. I was like, listen, there's people online that can't get in. And he's like, oh, we capped it at 100. Well, I'm like, well, you can't cap it at 100
not
because
when
you're
you-
blocking public input.
Correct.
The whole point of the Sunshine Law is advertisement and then the allowance of people to voice their opinions.
Yes.
So-
Transparency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we were. I don't think anyone is really questioning it had to be done. I don't think people would even have been questioning how it was cut had it been done in a transparent
Transparent way.
manner.
Well,
If you're
it's just time that's going on as well. It just happens to coincide with a lot of shifting as well politically. You know,
Yeah,
I
but
think
even-
a lot of
even-
people thought that was suspect.
even including that, right? We'll give them
just
the
throw that in
pass
there.
on
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? We'll give them the pass
Sure.
on that. If you're so sure what you're doing is
It's
right
right and
and
legal.
equitable and legal, let it play out in a public forum.
Right.
Why are we rushing and purposely not notifying people of what's about to transpire that's going to affect us for the next 10 years?
That's very, very
so
interesting.
back
yes.
to the numbers game, because at the end of the day, it's all a numbers game, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that the map is now, is the population equal or balanced?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. With all of this shifting from the original map to the current map, Ward F differential is about 100 or 200 people.
Well, in essence, Ward F shouldn't have been touched.
Because we met the requirements.
Because what you had to do was, like, if they said 48,000 with 10% deviation, what should have happened was Ward E should have redistributed into the Heights or went into Ward C because they had lower population. They had like
Yeah.
39,000 and 43,000 respectively. The population should have shifted over there. But what they did, and this is getting into, I guess, the suit, is the fact that they didn't comply with the law.
Okay.
There's a certain standard, and like when you draw ward maps, that have to consider, I guess, compactness and the ward being contiguous. And what that means is that it should look like a solid shape. It should look like
Well,
it should look like. It should
and
have like borders.
it
should
should
have-
look
should
how it
respect-
was.
It should look the
respect-
way that it
should
pretty
respect
much, and
boundaries. It should
we can't
respect
show that people
neighborhood. It
just
should
yet,
respect
maybe.
neighborhoods. It should do a lot of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That map that was drawn looks like the classic political cartoon of
It
gerrymandering.
looks like exactly.
Okay.
It looks
And
like
that's what it looks like.
gerrymandering.
Well, what was
especially,
taken out?
Especially
Well-
with it being done days after
See,
the election. It feels very
Okay.
intentional.
Well-
And if I mean,
Day. It sounds like day. Days is plural. It sounds like
Yeah,
day. So
day after the
It's
election.
an immediate response
To- right.
to, a changing of the guard, which
Well-
is what it would appear to be.
Our suit basically says
Yeah.
this, right? Councilman Gilmore was elected. Before Councilman Gilmore was the councilman, he basically had the community rally behind certain projects and certain
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
Correct.
That
I recall.
he was fighting for affordable housing. He was making sure whatever that developers
Accountability through development, yes.
accountability and things like that.
This is my question. Well, finish your thought.
And so what happened was, when you look at that map, the areas in which he advocated for was taken away from him.
And that's another question.
That's what
exactly what I
equal
think
gerrymandering.
we were both going to go in that direction. And I wanted to hit on this, Erica, just quickly,
Mm-hmm.
was what resources did Ward F lose because of this? Is Liberty
Well,
State Park still a
no.
resource from Ward F? What's still considered? Like,
Well,
what resources have?
There's several resources. You lose out on opportunity zones.
Okay.
Right? Opportunity zones bring in a plethora of opportunities.
Yeah,
hence the
absolutely.
term
Development.
Opportunity zones. You lose out on Liberty Park.
Yeah.
You lose the park.
So Liberty
And
Park is in what ward
Is no
now?
longer
It's an
considered.
A.
Yeah, it's an A.
It's an A.
Baby.
Which is a bit odd when you look at the reach and how it becomes A. And A, geographically, depicted on what we're seeing here, looks huge. It looks to be at least a quarter of the city. And it's just, and I think that when we're looking at this from that perspective, because we're visual people, people might not get into the math or anything like that. When you see this become this, and there's no
Or
good
vice
explanation,
versa. Or
vice
this
versa,
become this.
then we start to question some things. And it would seem that, to be 100% honest, right now, Ward F almost looks like a Ward F. But we're going to take a
That's
quick
crazy
break.
that you said that. That's what I
let's,
said.
before we
Take a
get
quick
into
break.
it, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you so much.